after researching emerging modes of algorithmic governance for over the last 10 years, from biometric technologies to airport body scanners, I somehow have arrived at the video that you're looking at, which I've made just a couple weeks ago, because I've started to see us subjects of security as kind of cartoon-like in a disorienting free fall, while techno music plays with a demonic voice chanting security phrases in Latin, like, if you see something, say something. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this with the music. Could be a little louder. Okay, before I instigate a morning dance party, I want to take some steps back and kind of talk about some sites and sources that have instigated this research. So you're looking at the Miami International Airport right now, which I'm sure many of the summit's guests and participants have passed through to be here today. And I've become quite attentive to airports over the last several years, as they are key sites for the testing and deploying of new surveillance and security techniques on mass populations. And notably, wait a minute, there we go. Notably, this year also saw mass protests break out at US airports like never before over Islamophobia, immigration, and in general, the ways in which power is undemocratically and erratically exerted on people in airports, from racial profiling to gender discrimination. And of course, new security technologies play a role in all of this. So, of course, airports also exhibit art, as most display public artwork, such as this installation by Michael Hayden at Chicago O'Hare. And such artwork, often eases the frenetic energies of travelers trying to make the airport appear welcoming, beautiful, a tranquil place. But today, I really think we need a different kind of airport art. Artwork that rather challenges and critically engages the violence and the injustices that airports carry out and are complicit with. So some years ago, I began researching one of these airport security technologies, which is biometric facial recognition, which is the world's #1 border security technology. And we now find many airports around the world have this, such as this facial recognition automated e-gate out of London Airport, which is the city that I live in. So I decided that I wanted to take biometric calculations of the face, which seem so colorful, fun, light, pliable, and give these calculations some weight, to give them political weight, historical weight. And I wanted to visualize the abstractions of computational violence and explore biometrics' historical connections to policing various minoritarian persons. So to do this, I made a work called Face Cages, which turns biometric calculations of faces into metal cages. And this performance work was made with 3 other artists, Elie Mermond, Misha Cardenas, and Paul Mpaji Sapuya. And we turned our own biometric calculations of our faces into these metal face cages, and we wore them in endurance performances. So strikingly, our own biometric facial calculations, when transformed into physical objects, didn't fit our faces very well, and in fact, caused us all some pain while we wore these. And so this artwork attempts to kind of dramatize the incongruencies between the supposed objectivity of digital calculation versus our own kind of fleshy embodiments. But a few years ago, an experience at the Frankfurt Airport in Germany kind of led me to the project I'm currently working on. So while waiting in line for security, I watched a video play on repeat on a dozen or so monitors, and amazingly or perversely, this video is available on Vimeo, so I'm able to show it to you today. Okay, so much to say, someone's idea of a romantic comedy. But what really struck me about this video was that this video was literally placed on top of an airport body scanner, which is the ProVision 2, and this is the millimeter wave body scanner found in airports around the US and Europe. And notably, this is the machine that's caused much security difficulties for transgender persons and others who do not have normatively abled bodies. So on the interface of this machine are these figures, which are kind of templates that mediate our bodies and its supposed risk to security agents. And so the more I traveled and went through body scanners, the more I became obsessed with these figures. The corporate term for them is generic mannequins, and they are described to be image-free because your naked body is not revealed, right, supposedly. But notice the gendered buttons. So I started to imagine these generic mannequins actually speaking to me when I traveled. I kind of imagined them as like contemporary ghosts or souls being channeled and extracted from us during travel and immigration. And so I decided I needed to make an artwork about these complex figures, generic yet absolutely not, image-free yet so clearly an image. And I wanted to know, what is their world? So when I began to observe airport security, I was like, this is not exactly it. I think rather it's something like this. And yes, this is a themed sex dungeon in New York City known as Sanctum. And so why? Because more and more I've come to kind of see contemporary security practices and algorithmic governance as kind of distorted and misguided appropriations of BDSM culture. A mixture of dominance and submission, compliance and play, coercion, delight, risk, obedience. And for me, the generic mannequin seemed right at home in Sanctum, a kind of shadow world of the airport. And so this November, I'm making an installation, my own version of Sanctum, at a space called Arbieto times Blas, which is a public art space in Madrid. And in this exhibition space, which is a former slaughterhouse, it will kind of transform into part sex dungeon, dance hall, detention center, and religious temple. And this work is also trying to ask kind of difficult questions about our own willful participation in algorithmic governance, exploring how we take pleasure in exposing ourselves to various digital platforms that ultimately may harm us. So we kind of see this tension between pleasure and play with the mannequin. I'm going to skip the music I was going to play. So I just want to end by saying this work is ambiguous, and because there are no easy answers to achieving a security-free world rather than the duty-free mall that we live in, because security and surveillance are secretive. We don't know all the details, which leaves our perspectives disoriented. And for me, right now, one way to try and orient myself is to try and inhabit this world of the generic mannequin, because the generic mannequin is a bizarre and clearly troubled universal symbol for human beings living under security regimes today. Thank you very much.